In this lesson, we'll cover the energy analysis settings. Regarding settings for your energy analysis, the first thing you need to do before you run an energy analysis is to verify you have an Autodesk 360 account. All of the analysis for energy are actually run and computed in the cloud, so therefore you need that actual login. The login is in the upper right where you see the word sign in. If I click sign in, it'll prompt me to sign in to Autodesk 360. Now, I can do this right now, or you can do this as you run the actual energy analysis, and it'll prompt you to log in right before it computes. So either way, you can actually create a login and sign in either now or during the process. But for this settings, I do not need to log in, so I'll just X out of this. Now, the settings for the energy analysis, those can be found on the very right on the energy dropdown from the Analyze tab. And on that dropdown, the second icon in is Energy Settings. Go ahead and click Energy Settings. Now, starting at the top, the variety of information is displayed here for the energy analysis. Common settings include the building type. This would be the type of structure you're running the analysis against. For our example, we're using a building type of office. But if you click the dropdown, you can see there's a variety of other types of buildings or spaces that you could set for the analysis. Each one has already predefined criteria structured toward that building type. Location is another setting. This can be set now, or it could have been set before in your project information. Clicking the button on the right with the three dots, the ellipse button, will open up the location service, allowing you to key in an address or pick an address. You can even set weather and site conditions. For this example, though, let's leave it set to Boston, Massachusetts. Just click Cancel. Below that is the ground plane. Basically, this is what level sits on the ground in your model. So it's important to define that. Ours, we're just going to use as level 1. Now, below that, in the detailed model section, a lot of this has to do with exporting if you were going to export to a secondary analysis tool. But looking at what the settings include, first it starts out by asking what category are we basing this analysis on. In this case, we're running this against spaces, or you could have it against rooms as well too. The complexity has to do with how much information you want to export and what type of information. So basically, simple means that it's just basic information such as curtain walls, curtain systems. Basically, they're exported as single entities or single openings. And then you can move into the complex settings. And depending on the complexity, it defines how much detail you're actually exporting. All the way to the last one where you're actually exporting basically different surfaces, mullions, curtain walls. All of these are exported as analytical shaded surfaces with center lines, thicknesses, and offsets. So it's more detail in the element you're actually exporting. But again, that's for export when you want to take it to a secondary tool for analysis. You have the project phase, new construction, or another phase, your space tolerance, your building service for the type of systems that are in it, building construction, building infiltration class, default values, and the report type. Now, all of these, again, are set for the export to a secondary analysis tool. Below that is an energy model area where we start to set some analytics for the physical model that we're analyzing. So we have some space and surface resolution, values that we need to set to resolve. Core offset is important too because that defines basically any space or zone that's not fully defined. So it basically gives us an envelope or a distance around or from the perimeter of the building. You also have divide perimeter zones. And basically what that means is if we think of our building that we ran the analysis on earlier, it's a square, rectangle. Well, this means divide the perimeter into 4 equal parts or quadrants for each massed floor for the analysis performance. Now, conceptual constructions below that, go ahead and click the Edit button on the right. This basically lets you see how all of the construction elements in the building are going to perform within the analysis. Here you can actually see how each one, in this case the walls, the floor, the roof, skylights, and openings, how those behave under analysis and what their actual settings or constructions are. Each one has multiple values that you could change or set in accordance to your building and building type. Go ahead and click OK. Now below that are settings for glazing. glazing meaning windows. So our percent goal is 40% of the building. That's our target. And in that calculation is the actual sill height. So our target sill height is 2'6". And then if we have shaded glazing, we would want to check mark the checkbox. Same thing if we have skylights, we would want to key in a target percentage for skylights if we were using those values. And lastly, on the bottom is the energy model building services. This is where we can actually set a default schedule or pick a schedule based on services of the actual facility and when it runs or when it's open. We can pick and choose the HVAC system that goes along with our building. And then we can set any air information of how we want the calculations to run per person, per area, per hour for various different results. Go ahead and click OK. So as a review in this lesson, we looked at the energy analysis energy settings. We first started talking about the requirement of having a login to Autodesk 360 in order for the analysis to run because those compute in the cloud now. Secondly, we talked about where the energy analysis settings are located on the Analysis tab and in the Energy dropdown section. And lastly, we went through the variety of different energy analysis settings on the Energy Analysis window, including export settings as well.